Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 3, which will be a roll call and conflict of interest check. Trustee Nolte,
Here, none.
trustee Abbott,
Here, none.
treasurer Metz,
Here, none.
trustee Sanders,
None. Here.
no conflict, or, sorry,
Here, and there's no conflict.
trustee Sickinga.
Here and then.
Myself, Clerk Stambolali's present, none. And I would like to let the board know that Supervisor Scott is absent with notice. So myself, Clerk Stambolali's will be facilitating the meeting in his place. Still have no live stream. Next on the agenda will be, actually, we do have designation of meeting chair.
I'll make a motion to designate Clerk Stambolali's as the meeting
Very
chair.
good.
Second.
I have a motion and support. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Abbott, support by trustee Nolte. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion passes. Next, we'll move on to call for public comment. And if you could please state your name and try to limit to 3 minutes.
5 Tower and Gregory. It has come up in various contexts of non-disclosure agreements. In order to send a message to developers and their counsel, I would propose a resolution saying to the effect that NDAs are not allowed for Dexter Township officials, but that would be something that the lawyer would have to create. And I think it would be interesting if some developer said, well, here's an NDA, and you can simply say, well, can't do it. Second item, need a budget to inform Dexter Township about the data center ordinance. I don't know how that would work. The data center ordinance, because of Fletcher, is in very good shape. There are some House bills. I don't know what, if anything, can be done on a local level in an attempt to make universities comply with local ordinances. House bill, I think, 6101 or 1601. There's 2 of them. I'm not sure how that would work. That's something that someone should look into. And finally, I would suggest a budget for an enforcement person to assist in enforcing not just the short-term rentals, but the other ordinances such as the fertilizer ordinance. And this doesn't have to necessarily be based upon a complaint basis. It can be a proactive enforcement person, utilizing interns, utilizing resources by informing various vendors of the existence of specific types of ordinances that violate our Dexter Township ordinances. Those are my thoughts of today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and one other thing. Thank Michelle for the good work on the election. We
Well, thank you.
appreciate that.
Much appreciated. Would anyone like to speak for public comment? All righty. Seeing none, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Which one would like to be?
By second, yeah, second by Sandra. It's fine.
Alrighty. We have a motion and support. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passes. Next item, number 8, will be discussion item with presentations. Our Director of Zoning and Planning, Mr. Fletcher Ryer, will be presenting on these topics. Letter A, excuse me, amendment to bed and breakfast zoning ordinances. Mr. Ryer, you have the floor.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Fletcher Ryer, Director of Planning and Zoning. Starting back in December of 2025, the Planning Commission and staff has been working to modernize the bed and breakfast ordinance after we reviewed short-term rentals. Some of the changes were intended to clarify the regulations and strengthen them, and also clarify that a bed and breakfast is in fact not a short-term rental. Some of the changes made were revisions to the B&B ordinance that clarifies that a B&B is in fact owner occupied. The owner of the B&B needs to be on site during guest stays. We also added a short-term rental definition because our ordinance did not define what exactly that was. And we wanted to clarify for residents what it is and clarify that it's not a bed and breakfast. They are separate businesses. We also clarified what type of events you can have at a B&B. We limited events to guests on site. So think of small family reunion, birthday parties, etc. Those are potential events that could occur. We also included inspection requirements from both Chelsea Area Construction Agency and the Dexter Area Fire Department. These inspections would be required every 3 years, and they would be required as part of their special land use review and approval. Additionally, we added sanitary sewer and septic inspections as a part of the B&B process. I know this is the first night we are discussing this proposed amendment. The Planning Commission recommended approval to you all, but I'm here to answer any questions you may have before formally considering it in September.
Thank you. Does the board have any discussion?
I have questions.
Trustee Sikkengall.
So three questions. Basically, one is 2 largest confirmations. It looks to me like co-located spaces that are not under the same roof are not allowed. So the bed and breakfast has to be contained within the residence. So if you have like a little cottage out behind the property or you own 2 places that are next door to each other, it's disallowed.
So for the owner occupancy section, it says that the property owners must be on site. And they can be away during a period. They can be away from the property for up to 4 hours to run errands. That was one of the provisions that he's had. But the owner could stay in a guest house or in a primary dwelling and use the other structure for the B&B purposes or the overnight stay. But it's all needs to be contained on site. The owner needs to be present.
Okay, so if you have multiple structures on the same lot, one could be occupied by the guest and the other could be occupied by the owner or renter.
Actually,
It's not what
my
it says.
apologies. So looking at the guest room standards, it does clarify that the sleeping rooms of the B&B need to be part of the principal residence. So you're right. They can't be separate.
Can I just interject? When we were going through all of this discussion, I may have misunderstood, but I thought we were told that the guest and the host have to be under the same roof and it has to be the primary. So if you had, say I had an apartment in the upstairs of my pole barn, I couldn't stay out there and rent my house. And I couldn't rent the upstairs in my pole barn to someone while I stayed in my house. I thought that my understanding was that that was not allowable.
That's correct.
Okay.
All under one roof. Principal structure, both owner. and
Okay.
guest.
So that was my first question. Second question was, and I don't think this is specified, but must breakfast be provided? Because that's kind of implicit in the words bed and breakfast, but I didn't read in there that it was required.
It's not a requirement. The language says that meals may be served to overnight guests. So I guess it's up to the discretion of the B&B owner. I think traditionally some meal is provided, but not necessarily
Not required in the ordinance. Okay, third question then, which only came up based on your preamble, which is if you look at point 6 under events,
Mhm.
what I heard you saying is that if they come and have a little birthday party or something, they can invite guests for that, but it looks to me like it says only people staying at the bed and breakfast are allowed on the premises. So if they did have a birthday party or some small event, everyone invited to the party would have to be a guest of the B&B.
That's correct.
Okay.
And one thing I'll note about that, and the planning commission contemplated this quite a bit, but the enforcement of that may be a difficult standard to enforce, but the PC does have the ability to revoke special land uses. So if something like this got out of hand and an issue did arise, the planning commission could potentially reassess the approval granted and revoke that if there's cause to do so.
So, yeah, I had the same question. I mean, it seems to me that if people are renting bed and breakfast and the intention is to have a small birthday party, like 10 people or something, that not all those people would be staying at the bed and breakfast. And I it seems to me that that should be allowed. So this seems restrictive to me. So what is this conversation today? We're just discussing it and stating our concerns or our opinions?
Yep, tonight's for general discussion and questions. September is intended to be an actual vote on the matter.
Okay,
Board of Trustees has the ability to either approve the ordinance amendment as written, or you can send it back to the planning commission for review.
okay. So I think the issue about accessory dwelling units is an important one that Karen was mentioning, and that's on page 42. And this seems very restrictive to me. I wrote out some comments because I always want to make sure that I'm articulating myself, but it makes, to me, it makes sense to restrict short-term rentals and the use of accessory dwelling units around the lakes for concerns of lake protection, nuisance to neighbors, noise, parking, etc. However, to restrict the temporary rental of outbuildings that meet code or accessory dwelling units on agriculturally zoned and some rural residentially zoned property that is being used for farming, agritourism, or other agricultural purposes does not make sense to me. Restricting the rental of ADUs in Dexter Township should not be a one-size-fits-all regulation. For example, perhaps a small lavender or apple farmer might have an ADU that could be rented temporarily as a part of an educational activity for interested people to participate in experiential learning or volunteering on the farm. A ranch that specializes in equine training may want to provide temporary lodging to participants coming to a horsemanship clinic. A therapeutic or recreational farm might invite a family to rent an ADU for a weekend to participate in animal-assisted or horticultural activities. These should be allowed uses, especially in a township that promotes agritourism in our master plan. I spoke with 2 other farmers about this proposed policy, and both felt that restrictions on the rental of ADUs should not include farmers and agribusinesses. This exception should be based on density, not necessarily zoning. The same issues that affect the lakes are not relevant to lower density areas, including protection of waterways, nuisance to neighbors, noise, or parking. So why would we restrict this use? Especially small farmers are struggling and may need to piece together income just to survive. I propose the Planning Commission revisit this policy with consideration for agribusinesses and tourism. As is, it's too blanketly restrictive and does not support the important value put forth in our master plan to support farming, rural character, and agritourism. So those are my thoughts.
All great thoughts there. What I will say is one of the proposed changes to the preservation of our agricultural heritage cornerstone in the master plan talks specifically about supplementing farmers' income through agritourism activities. So something we could look at in the future is potentially farm stay opportunities, and that could potentially be separate from both B&Bs and short-term rentals. Because last year seems like the majority of the concerns about rentals, short-term rentals specifically, came from the Lake Districts,
Right.
where we have small lot sizes. If we're promoting agritourism and supplementing farmers' income, I think the current master plan and some of the proposed updates we have would support that. So we could definitely reopen that conversation.
Okay. Well, thank you, because I mentioned this when we voted against short-term rentals as an issue that should be visited. And I think the Planning Commission visited it, but it doesn't seem like it was honored as seriously considered, let me say, because this is really binary. It's just a blanket policy that doesn't fit everybody.
So, but should we wait with that in mind? Should we go ahead and consider now sending this back to the Planning Commission rather than waiting until September to make that decision?
Well, I think a B&B is different than a farm stay. I could see how the two could be similar in a sense. But
Well, it's in here though.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying that
It's
passing this, we're being more permissive than we are in this moment. So approval of this doesn't
no.
make things worse for farmers, is that, or why wouldn't we send this back now to
I wouldn't vote for this now.
expand the conditions under which a short-term rental could occur?
Not
Well,
a short
is it-
term, a B and B.
Here's the thing, so I don't care either way on this topic, if we allowed ADUs to be used as a short-term rental or not, but it, to me, sounds that the ADU in the master plan, because I did bring it up after we had that meeting. And I was shot down on it by the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Because it is in the master plan that as a goal, one of the action plans was to not allow to focus ADUs as long-term housing to help with the housing crisis. And that we can't, unless we change that we really can't have zoning that conflicts with our master plan.
Oops, well,
And I may
I
not
don't
have been
s- I-
given accurate information. Don't kill the messenger. I'm
I
just
think that-
passing on what I was told.
yeah, I think those are two different issues. I don't think people who are need to, be able to allow people to have a farm stay are planning to use their accessory dwelling as a long-term housing. So I don't
But-
think they conflict at all. Yeah.
I think there's two separate issues. What we're addressing today is bed and breakfast. And the farm stay, to me, is a separate
It's in
issue.
here. It's in here that you can't do it on page 42.
But as part of the, can we take out that farm stay? I'm not against.
No, it doesn't say it. It doesn't say farm stay. Sorry. It talks about accessory dwelling units not being allowed. And I'm saying that it's too restrictive and it's too much of a blanket policy.
What I will say is I think if the board and the planning commission are interested, we could certainly investigate a separate ordinance just for farm stay and agro tourism related opportunities. For example, with our special event facility ordinance, it requires an agricultural component to it. The thing about the B&B ordinance is it doesn't require any ag component. The farm stay, in my opinion, includes some type of ag opportunity, either working, physical work, or looking.
Yeah, learning.
Operation works. A B&B, you don't need to work. You can just sit back and relax. And I think we could look at the two as separate uses.
I do too, but I'm learning from being a trustee and, I'm always learning, that if I vote for this, there is no guarantee that this will be revisited and this will not be this will not remain the restrictive policy that it appears to be. So I would not vote for this now without that addendum or a partner policy or whatever we would call that. I wouldn't want to support it.
Is this topic certainly going to be covered under that? Because there's a lot about that in the next discussion item about the master plan review committee. There was a lot in there about agro-tourism and
So, with the draft recommendations so far, there has been pretty big emphasis on agritourism activities. I think the current master plan would promote all these types of agritourism uses, and it especially would with the proposed amendments.
However, I don't think they're addressing overnight stays in ADUs.
It's pretty broad. It's a broad scope. Supplemental income, I think it could be argued a lot of different ways what exactly that means.
Well, I'm just gonna say, I think that staying on a farm where you have the opportunity to participate in farm activities is a nice thing. And I have paid for that experience in the past. And it's very enriching to the people who plunk down the money to want to stay on a farm and then, feed baby goats and collect chicken eggs, because not everybody gets to experience that. And it would be nice if we had a way of allowing that, and short-term rentals in agriculturally zoned areas would have allowed that. But we didn't
Well-
do that in September 2025 when it came to the board.
Well, I agree with you, Alicia, about everything. That one thing I do want to say is one farmer I talked to is 14 acres horse farm in a rural residentially zoned area. So I think we have to be careful about just saying that it's ag for ag. I mean, there's people that are in rural residentially zoned areas that are farming and are farmers and need to have this kind of flexibility. So I think that maybe basing it on density or basing it on acreage or something is more feasible than zoning, even though I agree with you that at the bottom line, agriculturally zoned areas should be flexible for this. It doesn't affect the lakes.
What did the lady say at the coffee chat? She bought a house out on Hankard and she was talking to her dad about maybe she shouldn't have moved here. And he said, "Are you kidding me? You live in the middle of a vacation spot.
Mhm.
There, we have so much to offer." And he had told her people drive for hours just to come here for a few hours and then have to leave. And it would be nice if we had some way for people to get that rural experience and not to have to leave right away.
Doesn't that come under a separate ordinance under the agriculture? Tourism.
Direct the planning commission to take up the matter of farm stays, setting aside and direct the planning commission to find a definition of farm stay that isn't dependent on zoning. Something like that. Can we do that?
Could that be part of the bed and breakfast, or is that just a separate
I think it
ordinance?
would be a separate-
To me, to me, it seems like a separate ordinance under the agriculture tourism
But if we.
banner.
Of action to direct the planning commission to take it up.
So it
then
keeps it in motion.
it will not just go away.
Right.
That, and they will have a direct. They have
But I
Well,
hate-
well, and
hate
I
it.
wouldn't vote for this until that's in place.
That's-
I'm just saying,
yeah.
look, because I've learned not to do that
Yeah, but
because,
the next step is,
Yeah, okay.
the next step is to direct the planning commission, right? Is to provide
Mm-hmm.
direction.
I agree with Laura. I remember having this conversation and, I even feel it's a little intrusive limiting it to just agritourism and farming. A lot of people that are landowners that may want to give that experience to people because they have an AUD, right? ADU, I apologize. I completely understand the lake location, homes in close proximity, noise, traffic. Completely understand why that would be denied through the township, but, and also the point of not every large piece of land is ag.
Mhm.
There are a lot of large pieces of land that are rural residential. And it does coincide with being, in agritourism and farming, people being able to come and enjoy this community. And just out of curiosity, it probably isn't relevant, but what about family members that come and stay maybe for a couple of weeks during the summer and someone has a small house? I mean.
I think that's
guess it's
different.
acceptable because they're not paying
Right.
anything.
It's private. Mhm.
Yeah, there's no commercial aspect.
Right.
So the zoning ordinance doesn't contemplate that type of use.
So I'm gonna make a motion to direct the planning commission to take up the matter of short-term rentals, specifically to provide
In-
farm experiences and agritourism, and specifically in support of agritourism and farm experiences.
In ADUs, right?
Well,
Oh.
because it could be more broad than that, right? 'Cause
Okay.
it could be in your attic. It did, so ADUs would make it limited.
Okay.
So.
But I want it to include it because it seems like they're getting left out.
So
Not
let's say
reopening
that's
short-term
limited
rentals,
to
I like
ADU,
that.
Mhm.
And including but not limited to ag zone.
I don't like reopening short-term rentals. That was a very volatile situation. We shut it down. We still have the problem in the township. We don't have the enforcement. I think there's got to be another terminology or something and not to use short-term rental and say, okay, we're going to allow this on farm. It seems like we're opening,
I don't think. it is
This was-
rentals. I think I said farm stays.
no, you said short-term rental.
You did say that, but I think we're getting to the wordsmithing of it.
Yeah, but that wordsmithing with short-term rental is huge.
But the concept, okay, so what word?
I think it becomes part of the agrigism, the ag tourism ordinance. We need to look at that as a whole entity, and planning can look at that as an entity and come up with there's going to be more than one topic.
So you
in an
don't want-
ag-
You're saying you don't, is there a second?
Support.
So now let's discuss. So
Okay.
you're saying you would not vote, for it. You would not want to direct.
No, I would rather, I want to direct the planning commission, but I would like to direct them to look at the whole topic and come back to us with an outline of ideas. We know this is one topic for the ag tourism issue. There's got to be an ag tourism ordinance that's going to handle more than just one issue. And I think using the short-term
And wouldn't have to be
topic
removed
is volatile and we shouldn't reopen it.
removed from this. With the bed and breakfast.
Well, to be fair, when we brought short-term rentals in September for a vote of this board, Planning Commission was recommending that we allow it in agricultural areas.
And just along
And-
the lake.
And the reason we were saying that is because it mitigated a lot of the reasons that people didn't like short-term rentals, and this board voted it down. So if we're gonna do this again, we should definitely define what you want from the planning commission.
That's why I'm calling it the ag tourism ordinance.
I can't remember the particulars of that, but I believe.
Well, it was-
Because as written, it was not going to permit it. It was only, there was. gonna be-
No, well,
Very few,
I feel like that my
That's-
interpretation is that the consensus was, we don't want to say yes to say no. That for whatever reasons at the time, we were not presented with enough places that would allow for it.
That's what I remember too. It was
And-
like- it
and-
was so
it was like
restricted.
5 or 10,
Right,
yeah.
so but I think we should have a definition we should have a
And-
set of parameters that we want the planning commission to work within so that this can be dealt with quickly, because we want to have something, we should try to have something in place by next spring.
What do you recommend, Fletcher?
So I do have initial concerns about couching it all under one ordinance for a lot of our ag tourism opportunities. They're separate land uses with separate criterias. But I think directing the PC to maybe revisit existing agritourism activities and to look at new ones such as, but not limited to, farm stays. I think that would be a better direction. And for example, with the special event facility ordinance, it's very broad as a special land use, but requires an ag component. It could be, unique uses or unique uses containing agritourism opportunities could be a part of that. And I think couching it all into one would be difficult, but we could certainly look at new ag uses, existing ones, make sure everything's modernized, and come back to you in the winter or springtime with some proposals.
So
Oh, go ahead.
should I
Sorry.
modify the
I-
motion, or let me withdraw the motion and then we can redo the motion?
Mhm.
And I agree.
I wish I could articulate a motion.
I think the motion is simply to have the
Evening to-
planning commission outline an agricultural tourism ordinance for farm stays
Or
and just the whole,
ordinances.
Yeah, ordinance, it's going to have multiple facets to it. It's just not going to be just farm stays, but farm stays is very different than B and B or short-term.
Well, I think it
rentals.
should include the terms, the term accessory dwelling units.
Well,
Because that's what keeps getting axed in all of these.
But
So,
that's
and
different. That's-
maybe accessory dwelling units plus, like,
For farm stays, that's different than a B and B or a short-term rental to me. It's a different issue. It's a different purpose.
So direct the planning commission to provide recommendations to the board regarding ordinance changes that would support
Don't we, oh,
the use of accessory dwelling units for farm experiences and other agricultural.
do we have agritourism ordinances right now? Or it's really, we're just creating
farm
them?
experiences
We're
and
not-
other agritourism.
That's
I
what I'm
like
saying. We're
that.
not changing them. Your motion is saying to change them. We have to create them. We don't have them.
To create or modify.
Yeah, to create a farm agritourism ordinance policy.
I'm trying to make it simple, but because you guys are all arguing with
It
the
doesn't-
specific language, but I think that the planning commission is gonna
Mhm.
know what we mean and they're gonna. come
Yeah.
back with
Well, and the
recommendations.
language is going to be tweaked
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
sent back and tweaked. So it's a, yeah.
Yeah.
I could make
Yeah.
a recommendation. I think farm stay should be the overarching
Mhm.
Beginning
language. Plus ADUs or the compatibility of ADUs with said farm stay. Because if we were to draft something like this, we'd probably have provisions for the principal structure. and
The parking, it's going to have a whole, yeah.
But that's the opposite of what you're asking for.
No, that's exactly what I'm asking for.
Saying farm stays and ADUs. That's it.
But that's in a separate ordinance under agricultural tourism. It's not falling in the bed and breakfast.
Mhm.
It's not falling in the B and B. It's,
Know that.
Oh.
I don't,
That has to be, that has to be considered and recommended by the planning.
because right now it's in the B and that's why I
Mhm.
wouldn't vote for it.
okay.
Okay.
So we. so
I don't have a problem with it not
No.
being in the B and B issue.
do we want do we want to expand this inquiry to include all forms of agriculture, which is what I think you're suggesting?
No, I'm saying,
Want to limit the direction to the planning commission to only farm stays and accessory dwelling. units.
what I'm saying is we have a short-term rental ordinance. We have a B and B ordinance in front of us. I'm saying we move forward on that and now we go and develop an agricultural tourism farm stay ordinance as a separate entity. And we'll end up with 3 or 4, whatever it is. But I don't see where farm stays really impact B and Bs or short-term. Like it's a separate issue. It's under the tourism. So I think it's separate.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion that we direct the planning commission to look at creating an agriculture tourism ordinances of outlined issues, which will include farm stays and
And the use
event-
of
Yeah,
accessory
Yeah.
dwelling units.
sure, but it's all going to fall under farm stays. I don't have a
It's
problem
not-
with that. Yeah,
That's your motion, so.
Yeah.
Or is that acceptable?
I think so.
it just creates it separate from this. So we have, boom, we have short-term rental, we have bed and breakfast, we'll have
Okay,
agricultural
then
tourism.
this should be, I feel that on some level, this should be tweaked and that language should be clarified.
Okay,
because
there's a
that
motion.
Acts as it.
I'll support. Now continue.
Oh, sorry.
Then do you want her to repeat the motion? Shall is in first instance.
Can I ask one other question while we're talking about this ordinance? Do we put any penalty clauses in any of these? Like, I don't see, like, if somebody is running a B and we find out, or we know we have active short-term rentals in our area. Oh, yeah, I am.
So we are talking about. the
Yeah,
motion on the
okay.
table now. And I think my feeling is that there's general consensus that we want to do this. So
Yeah.
I suggest we vote on this and then we can.
Send it back to planning.
Can we clarify the language again?
Well,
So,
isn't planning will clarify that
the
language?
yeah, but we have to have a motion that makes sense. So
Does the board want to vote on this B and B ordinance in September and focus on separate farm stay ordinance at a later date? Yeah, because I've been hearing different conversations of sending the B and B ordinance back, encompassing the discussions with farm stays. But
So
I
I,
would suggest having separate ordinances if possible.
so I feel comfortable doing that as long as this whole accessory dwelling unit. So this is contained in the bed and breakfast. But then when we move on to an ordinance for agritourism and farm stays, that will be completely separate where there is that potential of being legally
ADUs.
allowed to use ADUs. Okay.
well,
There's
I-
enough, so I think there's enough support on the board for the B and B ordinance that it's worth bringing it back. It's not clear everyone's gonna vote on.
I feel that we voted against short-term rentals with the caveat that we were going to deal with accessory dwellings in agricultural areas, and it did not happen, or the planning commission visited it, but it was turned down, and now it's in here. So I said again, I say again that I won't vote for, I don't want to vote for this until that is clear. I don't think that it's a good idea to vote for something and hope that we get it right.
But because they're two separate issues, we should not be tying up one issue because we haven't done another issue. Because the farm stays is a completely separate component that has to be developed, constructed, then brought to this board to approve or kick back for further language. So the bed and breakfast doesn't really have anything to do with farm stays.
I agree.
But it's making it, no,
It
this
is-
makes it
It's
not,
not impacting farm stays whatsoever. We do not want people having bed and breakfast that are also using their ADUs as bed and breakfast. They're not, bed and breakfast by definition is not your ADU. It is your primary home where people are staying in your primary home. You're offering one meal and you're staying in the home with them. That's a bed and breakfast.
Mhm.
So we're talking,
Apples
you know,
and
or
oranges.
exactly. Thank you. So, well.
but it got
so
in
you
here.
can
So
bring bed and breakfast back. It doesn't mean we're all gonna vote for it,
it
but
got in here.
it would bring it
The
back
apples and
in-
oranges.
I agree with
Alicia.
Alicia. It's a separate, I understand your position on ADUs, but it's not under the definition of bed and breakfast. So I say we vote for bed and breakfast, that we want to come back in September and do this. And we pass a motion to implore the planning commission to start exploring agricultural tourism, farm stays, ordinances.
Okay, so.
Well, I thought we did that last year when we, or
No,
when we voted on it.
didn't.
When we voted down short-term rentals in September 2025.
Right.
It was suggested that we go back and work on bed and breakfast, but I do not recall that we were supposed to get rid of the master plan where it says that ADU should be prioritized for long-term housing needs.
That's not what I'm talking about. We did, I did say that I thought that we needed to visit accessory dwelling units, especially on agricultural property.
Well, now,
I don't know that we've had, so.
we didn't put a
And that-
motion forth
So
on that.
We did not take board action and direct the planning commission.
Right.
Alicia, as a courtesy, passed it on to the planning commission. They discussed it and they didn't move it forward. Now we're taking formal action. If we execute the vote, we're taking formal action. We're directing them to take this up and they will take it up. And I think it's clear, I think everybody understands each other's positions. It's clear there's some support on the board for the bed and breakfast. So I think, Fletcher, you bring it back in September. We vote on the motion on the table and then we entertain any other questions specific to the bed and breakfast ordinance. And
Kind of-
move on from the farm
Right.
stays and agro, which is really a little.
But right now, there's a motion for the farm stay, so we need to vote on that motion.
Okay, so correct. So
Yeah.
we have a motion. to request the planning commission to create an ordinance for an agritourism farm stay, which includes the utilization of accessory dwelling units.
And a second.
We have a motion by trustee Nolte, second by clerk Stambolales. Is there any further discussion, or would we like to take a vote? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
Aye.
abstentions?
Nope.
Motion carries. So with that being said, this will now go to the planning commission, and so it is a motion, so they'll be creating this.
But we still move forward with the bed and breakfast in September.
Does the board have any other questions about the B&B ordinance specifically before?
Before we move on, I do, because in the same with short-term rental and BB, what is the penalty when somebody violates the ordinance? I know they potentially could lose their license if they have one. What's our penalties? Like, we know we have people out there operating illegally, but do we have any, not only the mechanism to find them and shut them down, but none of our ordinance say there'll be a $1,000 a night fine, or do we need that? Is that normal or is that not normal?
Violations, fines, and penalties section,
Okay.
find in Article 31 of the ordinance.
Okay.
So there's different types of violations, and different penalties that can be incurred, if you violate, the ordinance. There's some ordinances, you do list out penalties in the ordinance itself.
Mhm.
For this one, we thought using the general violation standard would not ordinances. With the special land use component to this bed and breakfast scenario, not only do we have the ability to issue tickets and misdemeanors, but to revoke their approval as well.
Mhm.
So those mechanisms are in place. It's just not outlined in the B&B ordinance.
I don't know how much of a deterrent that is.
Are there any other discussion or questions for the amendment to bed and breakfast for our zoning officer? Trustee Sanders.
Can we clarify whether people can honestly have a little birthday party? I mean, the thing is that the way it's defined is it says that it has to be the guests only. So can that be clarified?
Or could certainly request a planning commission revisit that. Planning commission thought that limiting those events to people property.
So how do
So-
we ask the planning commission to think about that? Because
In September, when you all vote on this, the motion fails to adopt, you could send it back to the planning commission for further consideration with specific components you want readdressed.
I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, Fletcher, and we don't have an attorney here, but I believe that change would be minor enough that we could make it without returning it to the planning commission. So if a member of the board wanted to propose an amendment to this, written to allow, say, one guest, a one-to-one, one non-staying guest for every paying guest or whatever, I think we could propose that without sending it back to the planning commission. But if we had a long list of changes that we wanted, then we would have to send it back. That's pretty minor. That would be a pretty minor change.
Well, we could pose that question to Foster Swift. Looking at the zoning ordinance right now, it reads as follows: the township board shall adopt the zoning text amendment as forwarded by the planning commission, or shall return it to the planning commission for further attention, including a list of specific objections. The township board may make minor grammatical corrections that do not change the meaning of the zoning text amendment without return. So plain language, I think that type of change for the zoning ordinance would need to go back. But we could defer the legal counsel to get a second opinion on.
Because when we changed the animal limitations, we were able to change more than we were able to adjust it to some. But we were able to make minor corrections under the clerical error exception, so.
I do recall that.
I do think it makes sense. Look, if I had a party at my house, I can have a certain number of people and they don't all have to spend the night, thank goodness. But with a bed and breakfast, you might have more people there than are paying to stay for a simple, any type of gathering. So it seems to me that it is restrictive that a birthday party could only be who is paying to stay.
Oh, I generally feel if you're staying in a hotel
Thank you.
and if you want to have a birthday party, you rent a room in the birthday party. It's not your hotel room. You're not allowed to have big parties in your hotel room. And that's really what a bed and breakfast is. It's basically a hotel room.
I agree with trustee Nolte. For instance, people that are renting or technically renting a hotel room, you have X amount of people that can stay in that hotel room. That shouldn't mean the facility has to allow 15 people to come and use the pool if they're not, that
If They're
paying
not staying.
customer.
I beg to disagree with that because I've stayed in a hotel and had 15 family members come and have a pizza party in the lobby and then we all go to the pool.
Well,
Without being charged extra. So I don't think that's
I don't,
real.
we're not saying either. I don't think that the bed and breakfast owner has to. They can have their own rules. This restricts them from being able to decide whether that's okay with them or not.
Well, maybe
So-
there could be a limit,
Yeah.
a number of guest limit worked
Yeah.
in versus if they're not paying to stay, they can't be there.
And I'm saying like in spaces, like
Yeah.
one non-staying guest.
Because
person.
bed and breakfasts can be in a lake community.
Right.
And no offense, I live in a lake community. Somebody has 4 guests staying in the B&B next door to me, and that gives them a right to have 8 or 10 people for a party, and this can happen repeatedly. Mm-mm.
But what if they want to have, like I've gone and stayed, and
Mhm.
I want to have my daughter come over for dinner.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with the limiting, but I definitely think there should be some limiting,
So it seems
Um,
like there's appetite to have a little bit more.
just to, in that one
Well,
little
it's
sentence.
in reason.
And
We make that adjustment.
Can't
That's
say
pretty
that
within
because
reason,
people
right?
don't have reason.
Well, also, what do we have to base everything on the lake community? Because of course we want to restrict everything more around the lakes. So why do we have to say, why can't we say 2 people on the lakes and 10 people somewhere else? I mean, does everything have to be, is the lake community the bottom line for everything? Can we split some hairs and be more specific and less, have these restrictions be a little less blanket?
Mhm.
Just for density size.
Yeah, density or
Can-
something.
Can I just say, Fletcher, do you take these notes back to the planning, or do you as the planning
No, it's
representative?
his job. You do.
So can we just ask Fletcher to take these notes back to the planning and then we get the revised next month? Sorry, Fletcher.
I mean, I totally understand why you wouldn't want a big party next door on the little lake properties, right?
So, because we've been talking about this a long
Yeah.
time, is
Mhm.
there another topic? Is there anything else on the bed and breakfast ordinance that we want to question the planning commission on, or are we ready to move on to discuss another pretty big topic, which is the master plan?
Mhm.
Let's move on.
Alrighty, seeing no more discussion.
Wait a minute, let me.
Alrighty, Bob.
We will move on to the next discussion item with presentation. which will be facilitated by our Director of Planning and Zoning, Fletcher Ryer, regarding the Planning Commission and Master Plan Review Committee update. Mr. Ryer, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Moving on to the Master Plan Committee. Committee was formed by
page?
the Planning Commission Chair with support of the board to look at the current master plan and identify areas that can potentially warrant revision, specifically regarding emerging land uses that weren't contemplated when the current master plan was adopted. Some of the issues discussed by that committee are short-term rentals, agritourism, and special event facility uses, renewable, non-renewable energy production, data centers, and housing. In your packet, I have attached redline versions of the master plan cornerstone and zoning plan to illustrate some of the potential amendments the master plan review committee has been pondering for the last 4 meetings. I would like to emphasize that the red line copy is not a final version. We still have 2 more meetings to mull this over, and then after the last meeting, the master plan review committee will vote on the recommendations and have myself and the chair draft a formal recommendation. Once the planning commission gets to hold the final recommendation, that can be forwarded to the board to request authorization for additional funding or consultant services related to a master plan update. And just a little master planning 101 for everyone. Every 5 years, townships and cities are required to look at their master plans and determine whether or not updates are needed. Our master plan wouldn't be up for a formal review until 2029. However, townships can review it anytime they wish, especially if new land uses are being considered. Right now, I would consider the master plan review committee to be before step 1 of an update process. We're essentially identifying if any changes could be made, and the planning commission and the board would ultimately make that decision based on those findings, planning commission discussion. If it turns out an update is warranted, we need to go through a formal update process, which includes sending out a notice of intent to plan to adjacent municipalities, utility companies, railroad companies, and counties. And then we would move into actually drafting the amendments, which could include typical master planning processes like data analysis, a review of existing conditions, current trends, housing need assessments. That could include community engagement events, surveys, having open houses, stakeholder meetings with the community, and then also coordination and discussion with the township board. After those amendments are made, then the board gets to make the call to distribute that draft to adjacent municipalities and utilities for comment. There is a review period of 63 days, 42 days if it's amendments only to the master plan. After that comment period, we would take into consideration all the comments from adjacent municipalities, residents, etc., and hold a public hearing with those considerations. The planning commission, after that public hearing, would then approve by resolution the amendment and then distribute it to the board. I know I went over a lot there, but that's currently where we're at. I'd be happy to go over this red line copy of the cornerstones and zoning plan. This reflects what we've been working on the past 4 meetings. I think we have a lot of good language in there. One thing I will mention is that reference to data center specifically is not included in any of this language. Staff and Carlisle Workman and our legal counsel is preparing new language to propose about. I will be sharing a copy of that with the board at the September meeting.
Should we be adding, where we're talking in the, I don't know if my page 33 is everybody's page 33. I'm on my tablet.
What
Uh,
page, Karen?
I'm not sure because I'm on a tablet. I think it's page 33, but
Just
Same for me.
oh, okay. So encourage value-added agricultural activities, support working farms, including farm markets, da, 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 da. Should we be putting a farm stay bullet in there? Just to keep it in the forefront and keep it in the,
That's what I wrote next to
Are
mine.
you at Cornerstone, are you looking at which Cornerstone? are you
let
looking
me
at?
switch
Preservation of
back.
Agricultural heritage.
Yes, that's the one I'm looking
It's the
at.
top of
Bill,
page
top of-
33.
Top of page 33. Well, I'm just saying in there, it seems like we're talking about agritourism and there should be some reference to farm stays to differentiate it from short-term or.
That was gonna be my
being-
recommendation too.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise.
Wow.
And certainly bring that recommendation back to the master plan review committee next month. They do meet September 16th. So be on the lookout for a packet in the next few weeks.
Okay.
How do we get it on there? How do we ensure that that gets on their agenda?
Well, you have 2 people who are on master plan review who are going to make sure that we discuss it at the meeting on the 16th.
I have a few things that I wanted to add also, and I wonder
Mhm.
if we should do the same thing that we did before where we
Just send it to her.
Motion.
So you have, I-
Well, you send them to Fletcher, not to me.
to Fletcher then, like I have a couple that I wanted to add under natural resources. And so can we just send them to Fletcher and then?
I think you should.
I think that would be really helpful.
Yes.
To send me new comments.
Cool.
And we can bring that to the our September meeting and consider it all.
So then everybody has an assignment, just to read this and get their comments to Fletcher. Do you have a deadline for us?
September 14th.
For September 16th, which would be September.
Okay, so maybe can you send a reminder to everybody like September 5th or something?
I can send a couple. That would be extremely helpful. You could all comment on any changes you may want to see or have considered.
So on page 41, I had 2
We
issues.
should have page numbers on,
Oh.
on that. Not everyone has page numbers.
Okay, under
There's,
transfer of development rights. I was wondering if you could explain sending zone and receiving zone. Also, then the second one is agritourism, and that's another place where I thought it would be important to include the use of accessory dwelling units for short-term stay.
Farm stay.
transfer development program is essentially essentially a farmer in the township making an agreement where they sell their rights to develop their ag land that we intend for preservation and essentially send the right to build more homes to a different location where more housing is encouraged, denser development. So it's a mechanism to promote agricultural preservation and to keep those ag properties as farmland and single family home, rather than potentially being sold to developer or a new sub. So the sending zone, is the ag district. Think of it that way. The receiving zone would be like residential. Think of Island Lake Road near the city and how dense that is. Some portions of North Territorial Road, places that have the infrastructure available for denser development.
So, okay, I'm feeling really,
Yeah,
really really not understanding. So that farmer doesn't own both of those areas, right? I mean, are you saying that the farmer is selling their development rights? How do they transfer it to a place where there's,
So it could be.
it's zoned?
Developer could approach a farmer, and the township, potentially enter into a PUD and a transfer of development rights, to say, hey, we're preserving this land, but we're gonna build a denser sub elsewhere, where more houses exist and where it's not listed as a area for preservation.
So that doesn't have anything to do with the farmer that's selling their development rights.
So the farmer would get compensation for selling that right.
Am I understanding
right.
correctly that what you're talking about is crediting, is allowing a developer to build more densely in a rural, residential, or already developed area in exchange for conservation of for the transfer of development rights in a farm area? So it's a way of creating more density in rural residential areas and less density in agricultural areas, correct? So just like right now, we have a provision that says that if a developer develops a farm, like one by Laura and Michelle, and they set aside a portion of the land as open space, then on the rest of that property, they can build more densely. So they don't have to have 2-acre plots now. They can have 1-acre plots because half of this land is preserved. Now we're talking about potentially providing the same mechanism, but not on a single property, but where the credits accrue from agricultural land that fits within our open space plan, and the density occurs in a rural residential area, right? That's what that's what you mean.
Yeah, think about it.
And
this
two
way.
different people own the land,
A farmer,
right?
a farmer sells their ability to sell their property to a developer, to somebody on Island Lake Road. In return, they're compensated for selling that right, but the person on Island Lake Road gets a density bonus or gets to build more homes. Because we're preserving one area and essentially
Yep, that's me. Sorry.
preserving our ag land,
Sorry.
another area that isn't intended for preservation gets developed.
so this isn't always necessarily a great thing, though. I mean, there can be a location in Ann Arbor, instead of preserving green space, you find a farmer that has swamp land, and you can just pretty much swap.
So the devil's in the details.
It absolutely is.
It's what? What did you
I
say?
said the devil's in the details.
Does
This is a big picture concept here in the master plan, and it says the big picture concept is saying we want areas where there's less density and areas where there's more density. But sometimes, but we have to be very careful about how we shape the specific policy to make that happen.
Do you think with and without a TDR in place, farmer with 100+ acres can still sell their lot to developer?
Or if you
this is
could
just
preserve
one
it.
Mechanism in the tool belt to help alleviate some of that development pressure in a community like Dexter.
And we're dealing with competing priorities because we want to have affordable housing and we want to have, preserve our rural.
Any further discussion on the master plan review committee update,
Appreciate it.
other than to remember to send your questions to Fletcher?
September 9.
Laura, trustee Sanders, did you have any?
I was just gonna say, I can send the comment in the agritourism area to add the
Yeah.
accessory dwelling unit. Yeah, and then that's the next thing on 42, page 40. I'm sorry, I think I was mistaking this for the bed and breakfast policy. So I think that I maybe put everybody through a little bit of grief. Not meaning to, because this is what I'm talking about. It's not in the bed and breakfast policy necessarily, or maybe it is, but it's definitely here that made me uncomfortable, so.
Understandably so.
Mhm.
Alrighty, seeing no more further questions or discussion, we will move on to the next discussion item with presentations. Letter C, data center. Facilitated by our Director of Zoning and Planning, Fletcher Ryer. Mr. Ryer, you have the floor.
Hmm.
We are on page 46.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Good evening. Mr.
So Karen had presented to me a list of great questions regarding the status with the data center ordinance. Her questions are in black lettering. My answers to them are red lettering. One thing I will say is that staff, with the help of consultants and legal counsel, will be changing the draft ordinance quite a bit to reflect the wishes of the planning commission and the township board so far, specifically regarding maximum size of data centers that would be potentially allowed here in Dexter Township. We won't have that update for the August 25th meeting. We will, however, have a memo prepared detailing the changes that we'll be making. And that will be presented hopefully at a work session in September or September planning commission meeting.
The reason I keep pushing on this is because you see how much discussion there was over bed and breakfast. Very simple, which is a relatively simple
Mhm.
ordinance change. Data centers, much more complex and controversial. And we're gonna have to make this decision. The board is gonna have to make a decision by February. So we're working back from February. Let's imagine that, or let's hope that the very latest we get a recommendation from the planning commission would be November. Because that would allow us to send requests back to the planning commission for consideration in December, consider it again in December. And then have a second chance to send it back again because of the complexity and then decide in February. So I feel like I'm being a little bit of a squeaky wheel on this one, but I just, I'm aware that there's an ordinance-based deadline on making a decision. I want to make sure the board has a chance to understand and send back to the planning commission.
Absolutely. Just to let you all know what the biggest challenge for staff is currently with the ordinance is the limited amount of commercial area we have available at Dexter Pinckney and North Territorial intersection. When accounting for the setback buffers that we've listed so far in the draft ordinance. At this time, the ordinance requires a 500-foot buffer from any residentially used parcel. And with that in place, we're left with 7 to 10 acres of potentially buildable property. It's not a lot of space, and staff is considering reframing the size of data centers allowed. When people think of data center, I think the first assumption is hyperscale. What's occurring in Saline Township specifically. There's avenues to permit smaller structures, structures that can be accommodated by Dexter Township's existing structure. So those are the types of questions we're looking at currently, and we'll have more information for you all here shortly. One other component about that commercial zone property over there is that the limited size and buildable acreage is also due to pending conservation easement on the Esch property. That was the largest commercially zoned property in Dexter Township. And with that easement in place, that eliminates the majority of buildable area for this type of industrial use.
And the other
That
small
main
area
res-
next to Fairclaw and North Territorial, there wouldn't be enough land.
So the Bear Claw property would be the biggest after the Esch property. There would be roughly 7 groups of buildable space.
Okay.
How many?
7.
Okay, that's what I thought.
As written. And like I said, we're gonna have a lot more information for both the planning commission and the board here shortly. We are pivoting to address size requirements, minimum lot size requirements to make a feasible ordinance that works within the constraints of it.
Fletcher, on page 48, in your answer to Karen's number 6, at the very end, it talks about considerations about noise. Are they able to control for the noise? My understanding and what I've read is that they're loud and that they can't control for that.
So we can require maximum decibel levels at property lines. We currently have a noise ordinance in place. Part of the draft ordinance is requiring a baseline study so we can compare the noise to something. Without that baseline study in place, we wouldn't have the decibel levels at a property line. We couldn't base that off. But you're right. Noise is a huge concern, and reading online articles, hearing people on the news talk about the noise, they say it's a constant issue. It's mostly due to the generators kicking in and how loud those can go. With proper screening and buffers and decibel level requirements in place, we hope that they would comply. And there are enforcement mechanisms in place to ensure that, but the news doesn't make it sound.
Another question I have is that we have university-owned property, and I know that what's going on in Ypsilanti Township is that the university owns that property and they don't have to abide by guidelines. Actually, I think there's some House bills or something. There's some kind of legislation coming up about that, whether universities have to abide by the guidelines of a local municipality. But we have university-owned property, and that concerns me too, that the university could decide that they want to use it for a data center. How likely is that, and what can we do about that?
What I've told the planning commission and master plan review committee is that I think the topography of that university owned property would not be conducive for a large-scale data center. You are right that they are exempt from local regulations. They could move forward with the construction of a data center, but I think it's unlikely just due to the type of property.
That's right. I think they own not just Peach Mountain and Stinchfield Woods, but there's also that camp. There's a camp in
Mhm.
Dexter Township that's owned by the university that is less hilly and tree-y. You might want to just double check that, and then there's also the one on Strawberry Lake Road, which I don't believe is in Dexter Township. But it has some.
Flip through. I would make a suggestion on these type of things, because this is what Joe was bringing up in public comment, that as a board, we should be utilizing our voice and contacting our representatives to state our support of the House bills, just like, God, I'm sorry, my numbers went out.
Karen, I
Yeah.
think it can actually be even more effective to pass resolutions like we did last month, or like last
Yeah.
about an issue. So we could propose we could
Do a resolution.
do a resolution which would formally be forwarded to the state assembly.
Mhm.
I personally think it's extremely unlikely that the university is going to be, but we can.
But
say our-
you gotta let your voice be known.
They're House bills, right?
Yeah.
So we can do it as individuals, but as a board, as an elected board, I think we have a lot.
Yeah. I think we should do that.
I do too.
I'm just saying that maybe some member of the audience
Might want to help write that resolution.
You know,
Maybe some part of the public.
Yeah, some member of our public might want to help us write that resolution.
Who might have legalese.
To be in
kind of
touch in the future.
expertise.
not naming any name.
Yeah.
They'd also be tax exempt, correct?
That local regulations. Ypsilanti Township has a moratorium for their water utilities. And I believe tonight they are considering moratorium on utilities. Specifically the above ground switch yards
Hmm.
that a data center would build. They're discussing that now. And I'm curious to see what that comes.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no more questions, I could just go over my reports briefly. We do have some pretty big items coming up that will be in front of this body in the near future.
What page?
146.
Gotcha. Thanks.
You're going to page 146, Roger?
Yes.
All righty.
There it is.
Page 146.
146.
I am there.
Oh, but- At next week's planning commission meeting, we will be having a public hearing for conditional rezoning request for 3101 North Lime Center Road. It's the home of Fisher's RV Park on 4 Mile Lake. The property owner has told staff that they wish to retire from the campground use and to convert the property to entirely residential use. They're proposing to split the RV park into 2 properties. Yep, 2 properties, which each would contain a single-family dwelling. What makes a conditional rezoning different from a traditional rezoning is that the applicant needs to voluntarily present conditions on that rezoning that are more restrictive than what the underlying zoning is.
Mm.
So currently, that property has a future land use designation as neighborhood commercial. It's not consistent with rural residential uses. However, planning commission has some discretion to look at changing trends in the area. To consider a request like that, the applicant's proposing to limit the uses just to a couple single homes, which is far less than what the rural residential district would allow. So that's the conditions they are bringing forward. That packet will be on the website tomorrow, and you can take a look at that draft zoning agreement in place. I'd encourage you to do so. Once the planning commission has a chance to review it and send a recommendation, will be in front of you.
How many trailers
Yeah.
are over there now?
20 plus.
Okay.
Wow. So it's housing 20+ families right now?
It's
I
not the
Oh.
camp.
Oh, a campground. It's not a mobile home.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
a mobile home. It's a campground. People drive their RVs and
Aren't there
trailers
some
on the
like
property and
dedicated?
hang out for however long they want to vacation. The landowner wants to cease that use entirely.
Yeah.
The main reason for this request is that the underlying zoning district, which is recreation conservation, has a larger minimum lot size requirement than rural residential. He wants a couple properties split out of this for single family homes. He couldn't do that under. Additionally, it would be conducive to single family uses.
But there's not families getting displaced? Seems to me there was some longer term RVing over there. Maybe not. Maybe it's just
Oh,
you don't know.
Yeah.
From what I understand, I think it's all temporary campground use. Certainly ask that at Tuesday's meeting if that's the case. I do know the other RV campground in town off of Dexter Town Hall Road has a lot of longer term.
I thought there were longer term guests out there. I was wondering how many people were going to get displaced.
Yeah. Too.
Certainly ask that.
When you say longer term, are you referring to seasonal campers or where people park there from May and they take their RV home in November? Or are you talking about people who live in an RV year round at these spots?
I was leaning towards the first, which is seasonal.
Seasonal, okay.
But,
I was leaning.
Not necessarily being displaced. If
Well,
it's a
was leaning
seasonal.
toward the
It sounds
second.
like we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, living in a recreation vehicle full time.
Well, that's what I thought. That's why I didn't think, we're not displacing people who are there seasonally, are just people who want their camper to sit on a campsite and go see it every weekend.
They're not
Maybe.
mobile. They're not
Or
mobile.
they're
to
not
stay there.
mobile.
Yeah,
They're not mobile. They're right. There are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, but there might be people that are there continuously, and maybe it's not a recommended use, but it's possible that people maybe live, lots of people live in places they're not supposed to live because there's limited housing.
Then we shouldn't. This place has been there since forever. And these are more like trailer homes that are there. They're not
That's what I thought.
RVs. They're,
I thought they're more trailer homes.
Okay,
So,
Leffler doesn't
anyway.
know this, and so for sure, so he's gonna.
Well, there's a big difference between a mobile home and a recreational vehicle.
there absolutely is.
Mhm.
And I was always surprised with it being there, especially by the lake. And I know there's been a lot of talk about that place. But what would be the remediation or soil decontamination? Because there has to be some sort of septics or something going on over there.
So there's currently a bathhouse.
Oh.
The property owner wishes to convert that bathhouse into a full-time.
Oh.
Part of the draft zoning agreement would require county approval for water.
Septic.
In September, we'll also have 2 ZBA requests moving forward. Both requests are at Dexter Pinckney Road. One is at 9388 Dexter Pinckney Road, adjacent to the Portage Lake and Little Portage Lake Canal, or that bridge there. They are wanting to build a addition, 2-story addition, 2-car garage with a primary suite on top. They'd be encroaching into the front yard setback, water body setback with that request. Just across the street at 9433 Dexter Pinckney Road, the applicant's requesting to demolish the existing home. It's the yellow home next to the new modern home with the lighthouse type feature at the top of it. You know the one I'm talking about. But they're wanting to keep the existing attached garage, demolish the home, and build a new 2-story home connecting it to the existing garage. So with that request, they would encroach in the front yard setback as well. Moving on to some ordinance amendments, the planning commission will be considering, or they'll be holding a public hearing for a proposed amendment to Article 4 and Section 16.36 of the zoning ordinance. This ordinance covers the process of reviewing land uses not listed in the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance has a schedule of uses with listed land uses. However, it's impossible to encompass every potential use that may come through our doors. So this is the avenue to do so. The amendments would involve the planning commission on those use interpretation processes rather than just the DPZ making the call that's similar to a regular use. And then lastly, the planning commission will be taking up a review of the food truck ordinance. Our food truck ordinance is one sentence currently. It's not even called food truck, it's food cart. So we're looking to modernize that because you'll periodically see food trucks around the township. We want to make sure they are safe, inspected by the health.
What a noise. Meeting generators.
I thought we had the fire department visit the planning commission and talk about the inspection process, that every time a food truck, and I thought it was Chief Armstrong who talked to us about this, that every time a food truck is moved to a new location, they have to be re-inspected. And so, I mean,
Yes,
I understand we can update our zoning regarding food trucks, but it seems to me that there's already a process in place.
but it's not a public health process, it's a fire inspection process that the fire department conducts. So they look at like fire, like fires from grease and
Right.
and ventilation and that kind of stuff.
They're not looking
So if
for
we,
their parking.
okay, so if we do it as a public health, who's doing the inspecting?
Well, I don't know what the other components are,
Okay,
but I'm just saying that what the fire department does is limited to just the fire. Is just limited to risk of fire.
okay.
Fletcher, I'm sorry to go back to this RV thing, but I'm trying to understand it. So if that isn't approved for them to change a zoning from neighborhood commercial to what, like single dwelling residential, if
So they want to rezone from recreation conservation to rural residential. And the reason for that is they want a couple additional splits on the existing property for new. With the current zoning, it requires a much larger minimum lot size, so they couldn't get the split that they want.
okay, I'm just having a hard time understanding it because it seems, so what happens if that's not approved? Then what happens? Do they just move out and that RV park gets sold to someone else and continues to be an RV park? I mean,
That's up to the property owner, what happens next. So right now, it's 2 properties. They essentially want 3, in the cease the RV campground use.
What's on the third parcel?
The third parcel is where the campground is. The one adjacent.
So they want to keep that campground and then have 2 single residences? Like, is that what they want?
They want, right now, it's 2 properties. They want a 3rd property. One of the properties has a single family home. The other property with the campground has a single family home on that.
Oh, it does.
In addition to the camp. So they're wanting to split up the campground entirely,
And split
cease
that.
the use, and then just build a single family. So it'd be 3 homes in total. There's 2 existing, no campground. That's part of the proposal.
But we
Do-
can't require people to continue to operate a business. I mean.
No.
That's not up to us.
Yeah. So that's.
do we have other neighborhood commercial? Yeah, but we don't have to necessarily change a zoning, right? I mean, do we have other neighborhood commercial zoning?
So the vast majority of our commercial zonings at that North Territorial, Dexter Pinckney intersection, with some scattered along North Territorial and McGregor Road. And corner of Stover Road. There's not a lot on the master plan looking at that future land use designation. But what I'll say is that what they're proposing is more compatible with how the area is developed since the 1960s. I think all the surrounding uses are rural residential. Just south of them in Lima Township, there's another campground. So switching over to rural residential, in my opinion, would be appropriate, and I can put that in that change.
And they're an older family as well.
Yep, it's looks there.
Anyone have any questions for Fletcher?
What is nuisance lighting? Like that, if somebody got a commercial light, they're shining somewhere?
Glad you asked that. This was an interesting one. I received an email last week from a concerned resident. He sent me a picture of his backyard in the middle of the night, and it looked like it was daytime.
Oh my
Mm.
God.
And his commercial neighbor contracted with BGE to install a light in the parking lot,
Mm.
and they didn't shield it or anything, etc. The good news is that today, supposedly the light was supposed to be taken down today. I gotta go out and confirm tomorrow, but he hasn't been contacting me, so I think.
Must have
no
gotten
news is
better.
Good news, but I'm gonna go confirm that light was taken down. And DTE reached out to me and owned up to their mistake and realized that Dexter Township has lighting standards.
So I'm gonna say that we're about an hour and 40 minutes into the meeting. We are only through the first 3 discussion items. And I'm gonna ask whether we think it makes sense to move on to the action items at this point and let Fletcher go. Our clerk has stepped away for a moment. She's gonna be back. So do we want to take a 5-minute break and then return and take up the action items?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Fletcher. This was good.
Thanks, Fletcher. You're a busy camper right now, aren't you?
Don't blame me for this wild living town.
That was just quick. Okay, where are we going to? Action items?
Alrighty, now we will proceed into number 9, action items.
I'll make a motion to accept the financial transaction.
Second.
I have a support from trustee Sickinga, support from treasurer Metz. Now lead into discussion. All right, seeing none, if everyone would, we will do a roll call vote. All those in favor of accepting the financial transactions, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We'll lead on to letter B, approval of PA 116 for Daniel and Emma Polka. I would just like to say PA 116 is a Michigan farmland preservation program that allows landowners to voluntarily enroll qualifying property in an agricultural preservation agreement in exchange for certain tax benefits and incentives. The agreement generally requires the property to maintain an agricultural use and places restrictions on development for the duration of the agreement. Board approval is required because the local governing body must review and approve the PA 116 application before it can proceed through the state process. This provides the township with an opportunity to review the proposed agreement and confirm that it is consistent with local land use planning and the township's interest before the state considers the application. Do I have a motion for the approval of PA 116?
So moved. I can second, but I have a question.
Absolutely. Support by, or I'm sorry, motion by trustee Sanders, second by trustee Nolte. Now we'll lead into discussion. Trustee Nolte.
The only thing that really concerns me with this is it happens to be over on Tanglewood Trail, which has been our last nightmare of broadband. And I don't want this to interfere. A lot of cable is run over there, but it's not necessarily buried yet. So I don't want this until that cable is buried and it's in the ground and the residents, they're hooked up, but the cable's not buried. And I'd like to ensure that the cable can be buried on this land.
What's the timing for burying the cable?
They're working. I mean, it's in real time. I don't know. It might be a few weeks, a month. I don't know. I'd have to check on with Spectrum on the real time, but they're hooked up over there, but not all the cable's buried. They got to bring the crews back to bury. And if the homeowners can say, yeah, we allow cable, I don't even know if the cable is at this address yet. But it has just been a nightmare over there, and it is our last refuge.
The board has 45 days from the date of receipt to approve or reject the application. And the application date is August 3rd. So,
It's coming up.
so that gives us, I think that if we decline the application now, we would have to have a special meeting of the board to approve it within the 45-day deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally don't think the state is gonna they're not gonna be able to process this application. If they're laying a cable now and it's gonna be.
Yeah, I don't know if the cable is running over the part of their land or the land they want to preserve. I just don't want anything interfering with the last few houses that we have to accomplish. I would like to I would either like an assurance from the homeowners that they will, if the cable is hitting their land, that they will assure that we can bury the cable there, or I'd like to get a hold of Spectrum. And I sent a message to her. I just got back in town, so I sent a message to her, but I haven't heard that answer yet, that if this address or the part of the land by the maps that they're breaking off is involved. I don't know that answer right now, I hate to say.
I don't think typically buried cable counts as development, so taking cable that's laying on the surface and
Right.
burying it, I don't.
But understand, we have come off a 4-month fight from a resident that would not allow us to bury cable on their land. So it slowed down our process by months. And I don't want to walk back into that problem. You know, maybe I'm just leery because it's Tanglewood Trail and that is our nemesis of our township with, you know.
I guess I understand what you're saying, but this is just a tax incentive for them to say, we're not going to develop this land for X amount of years, which is 10. So if there are issues with them coming forth and saying, we don't want it buried, they could say that without.
Can
giving
we
them a
approve it
tax.
on the premise that we talk to them tomorrow and that we can't do that, can we?
This doesn't have the same standards either as our FOSFAS applications,
No.
right? They're going through a different program. So,
Mhm.
you know, like if it was our FOSP application, it may be that they couldn't bury it.
I would say that 45 days from August 3rd, I'm counting right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks would be 46 days, right?
Did you say August 3rd? Because they have July 5th on their application to the Michigan Agriculture.
The stamp, the date stamp on it was August 3rd, that's where I got August 3rd.
I mean, I wish I just had not heard back from her. Mm. That's my only hesitation.
That would be, if it counts from August 3rd, the date, the required date for approval would be after the next board meeting, which is, so 42 days would be September, from August 3rd is September 17th, and the next board meeting is September 15th.
Oh.
So we could put this forward to September 15th.
I hate to do it to them, but I just,
If we assume that August,
Well, August 3rd is the date it was received by this office, which means that should be the date, the clock that starts. You can't start a clock before we receive it.
yes, I agree, from the date of receipt. So the date of receipt is August 3rd, you're right. So I think we could,
do it in September.
and tell the homeowners, thank
We
you
just-
very much.
yeah.
This is wonderful. We love that you're doing this.
Yeah.
We have
Just need to
we
verify.
intend to approve it. We just need to verify. Yeah.
So could we just table this until next month's meeting?
Exactly.
And I think we should all be prepared for the possibility that we may have to do a special meeting.
Mm.
Quorum might have to show up. Especially if it have to come to a special
Yeah.
hearing.
Would that be a vote to table?
I don't-
Or,
I don't think so. I think we can just table it.
yeah.
And I'll follow up with Spectrum Ed. I can get a hold of her today.
But all in all, it's a great program and it just ensures without them having to get into the whole.
Everything we're
lifelong
about.
Preservation. It does secure a preservation for X amount of years, which they're choosing, 10. So, okay, so we will table this action item to the September.
I was hoping they'd be here.
Cannot
15th
forget to
meeting?
Put it on the September. meeting.
Yeah.
Will do.
Yes, then we, then break the steps.
So table to the September 17th, 2026 Board of Trustees meeting. All righty, now we will lead into Rain Gardens and Prairie Review, RFP, review and consideration.
Okay, so this is my item, and I just want to say again, how thrilled and delighted and filled with thanks I am that all of you are willing to consider doing this. It was something that was on our prior strategic plan. We didn't get to it, and it's just wonderful to see that we're getting to it. And the other thing is that the two firms that applied, which is Mike Apple and Dave Mendel, are recognized experts in the community. They're both people that have worked with the Botanical Gardens and Arboretum when I was there, very well known there, and I was thrilled to see that they were the respondents. And they, they're both highly qualified, and I would be inclined to want to go with Dave Mendel with PlantWise merely because it's $1,000 cheaper. I don't think we can go with the more expensive options because the proposals aren't substantially different. And I guess that's all I wanted to say. So I guess I want to make a motion that we select plant-wise to do a rain garden and fairy garden installation at the.
I'll second that, but can I ask a question?
So I have a motion by trustee Sikkanga, support by trustee Nolte. Now we will lead into discussion.
What's happening with, we're still gonna have, what's
This
gonna
has
happen?
Nothing to do with the front. So.
Oh, this is all this back here.
This is back
Here
here.
and right here, the rain garden. So this little part up here and this little side, we're still gonna mow.
Yes, and I mean, I would like to, but I mean, and I know Michelle agrees with me, eventually we like to look at this landscaping in the front because we've got invasive plants up here and we have things that obscure
Oh,
the sign and all that, but that's.
Well, I'm not even talking around the building. I'm talking about the grass, the ditch, and then running down the side.
There's gonna
It's-
be a kind of, example rain garden
Yeah.
here on this side. Both of these installations are on this side, not on
Right.
the other side. And the rain garden is, gonna be on this side of the ditch.
Right.
To provide
Yeah.
the viewscape and to provide a buffer so that butterflies don't go out into traffic. and get-
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I was just wondering.
I have a question, and this is just about the numbers. So I understand there's a difference between the cost. However, the first one, even though it costs more, there's gonna be maintenance through summer 2028. And plant wise is
27.
only they're limiting their maintenance visits to just 3 after they do the seeding in December 2026. So I'm just not sure. I don't know, like, do you expect that we would need maintenance through summer 2028? And if so, would we be wiser to take the higher bid because it sounds like we're going to be getting more for the money?
Aren't we getting more plants too? Like more diversity? One was, I forget the diversity.
This was provided by the county, I think, so.
Yeah, but one offered more.
I just want to make sure that we're not suddenly
Shortchanging ourselves.
short, yeah, basically.
The,
Yeah, it goes through summer,
so.
and
so-
optimum burn for spring of 29.
And what's the difference between, why would we be doing the seeding in December? I mean, since I'm not a gardener, okay, because everything I plant dies. So so why would you seed in December? It sounds foreign to me that we would seed right before, like, well, look what last December was. We were covered in snow.
Seating so it's a fantastic time for.
Is it?
seeding.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has to go through its cold.
It goes through its
Part of
cold
the cycle of the
experiment,
seeds.
and
They just state.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That are
It's,
made for this environment.
Okay.
And so what happens is we remove the plant materials here. I think they're proposing a burn of the dead materials and then the
That's different
ground
batch.
is enriched and ready to receive the seeds.
Okay.
And then the seeds are applied and then they come up in the spring. And I believe that when I've done seeding in the fall, the seeds get all consumed. I think that there's less consumption by birds.
Yeah.
And things, so I think you get a higher yield rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was just curious
But I think.
how that works.
It's also, David is proposing, Mike is proposing a not to exceed bid, so he's billing for time and materials, and Dave Linda Plant Wise is proposing a fixed price. So, I don't know,
You're-
I mean, to me, it looks like
So
they're saying 202 plugs. I'm surprised they're doing plugs at all. I would have thought it would be
all seed.
So that
so the maintenance isn't actually included with the $9,416.
Well,
dollar
but it
bid.
is.
So you're-
well, it says it's not to exceed, so.
But it says maintenance continues through summer of 28, optional prescribed burn for spring of 29, which promotes future growth. So, and the other one only goes through 27, three
That's
maintenance
from
is
Apple,
through
yeah.
27.
Yeah.
When they're both the same number of plugs.
Oh, that's where you're getting that from. Okay.
Yeah, page 94.
Yeah, you know, I didn't.
How about if we make a motion that, like, I'm happy with either one.
Yeah.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
Either one. too.
Yeah.
I've worked with
And
both of them.
Have you had conversations with them personally? Can we make a motion that Karen has the discretion to hire one of these two companies? Not to exceed the 9416?
Let's make a motion that the supervisor
Yeah.
has a motion to,
Yeah,
has authority to sign.
Okay.
To select.
yeah.
Let's do that. I prefer that. So I.
Yeah.
I will.
because I think there's a few questions to be answered about the maintenance period. Why select one right now without?
I mean, we will want to do prescribed burns in 2029.
You will.
But I don't know. I mean, I would think that the prescribed burn will cost $1,000. And so it would still, but anyway, yeah, so these are good questions. And maybe Sam and I should have these or have.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna modify my motion to,
Michelle's having a little.
authorize the supervisor to select on those two.
And can I add to that motion by any chance? Oh, okay, so not to reach out to either of them, correct?
Oh, to reach out to both.
Could we also ask them if there are non-chemical alternatives?
Yeah, and we can ask them if they're not.
You can ask them that, but 9 out of 10. I just had one of these put at my house and.
I think the standard of, I think they're clearly articulating the standard of practice. And I'm 100% agrees that we want to avoid pesticides, but I think a one-time application.
But these aren't one time. Neither of them are one time.
I think they're
We can ask them now.
asking that, but I also think we need to use our advanced technology to promote what we're getting to.
Application, we can ask them.
Well, I understand that since we're in discussion, I think. We're also talking about rain gardens where we want to attract and bring in native plants. And when you grow native plants on chemically treated soil, then you can harm them. And what we really need to focus and emphasize on is the importance of, strengthening these pollinators and their habitat, especially monarchs and bees. And I will always be a no for herbicides. I just will. And especially being at the Dexter Township Hall, at the rate this board has, been absolutely amazing with environmental stewardship. I just feel very strongly, similar to Laura, not wanting to vote on something unless it's right. And so if we could add that,
Well, can I just
The
read what
component.
Mike Apple said about that? And again, I mean.
and he is the only one that did write something, and I do appreciate that because PlantWise did not.
So he says, I honor the township's attempt to reduce herbicide use, and I'm recommending an integrated pest management approach to establishing native perennials on the site. From a sustainability angle, the ounces of herbicide necessary to complete the job as outlined below outweigh the gallons of fuel that it would take to cut and transport sod off the site or import and run agricultural equipment multiple times as a method to prepare the prairie. I began my career as a native plant grower and installer in 1997 using only organic methods and became a licensed herbicide applicator in the early 2000s to provide service with the highest efficiency. I feel that the approach outlined below will provide superior outcomes. The township requests the pros and cons of other alternative approaches, which I am happy to discuss. So that's his comment. I thought that I did see that.
So maybe that he's a good selection. I mean, Lonnie can decide, but
I personally like the longer maintenance. Like, are we gonna go out there and maintain that?
No, we're gonna have to have.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have somebody maintain it. Yeah. It's just,
and he sounds open to discussion and really I mean, it's probably both of them are,
they're creating.
highly expert, have high expertise.
So do you
in
want to
limited.
go with Mike Apple and just make it simple?
That's fine with me. I prefer the longer, my option. I'm all for it. I would prefer a longer maintenance period. You know, it's gonna have to burn, you know, it's gonna take a couple years to get it going. I mean, this isn't something you go, whoop, it grows next spring.
Because he was also responsive in the sense of answering. the question.
Mhm.
Okay, so should I withdraw my motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, put a new motion.
Put a
which is
new
the
motion.
Apple, based on the longer, maintenance, schedule and the responsiveness to the question about herbicide use on property.
As long as something is in there regarding herbicide, I'm
Yeah.
for that.
Okay.
And
I would second that.
So, and then
so it's the same people.
when we talk with him, you can, that we're hiring him, so the motion is to hire him based on his response about herbicide use and his longer maintenance, schedule. And then once he's in place, he's actually very easy to.
Nice guy.
I mean, I just don't want to be counterproductive, which the whole reason for doing this is not just so we have a prairie garden, a pretty prairie and a rain garden. I mean, because technically every 50 square feet of grass gives enough oxygen for 4 people. So if we're talking about 600 square feet of grass, that actually gives enough oxygen for everyone working in this office day to day. So right now, we're already being beneficial where we don't chemically treat the lawn and it's just mowed. So I just really want to stay true to our environmental stewardship and for pollinators especially that we're doing the right thing. But okay, so with that being said, that's right. I'm
Need a vote.
facilitating this meeting.
We need a
All
vote.
those in favor, we have a motion and support by trustee Zickenga and trustee Nolte. All those in favor of Apple
Pill.
Environmental Design? Please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Yay.
All righty.
Fucking
motion
done.
Carries.
So
Yay.
I really appreciate it.
I've been excited for this too.
Thank you.
All right, now we will move on to letter D, the selection of photo contest winner and honorable mentions. So in your supplemental material, we're all for the 2026 Worcester Township Photo Contest finalists. And they are numbered. So fantastic. But I
Are we doing rank voting? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, how are we gonna use it?
Oh, wait, I
So
thought
we are on page 105, if anyone needs the number.
So we have to choose two, one to be the winner and one to be the second choice, one to be the honorable mention.
Correct.
Even though they all get honorable mentions, because they all got considered.
Can we make a motion about one of them and see if other people vote for it?
Shouldn't we just do rank choice voting and
I don't know how to do that.
Just let them.
I just thought
I would like to make a motion that we select photo 28 as our big winner.
I'll second that. That was my favorite.
And let's talk about it.
All righty, all those in favor of,
Well, wait, we're gonna talk, we have a discussion.
well, we make a motion, and then we go into discussion.
I know I made a motion and she seconded it. Yeah.
So we have. a
Right.
motion and
So
support.
I just wanted to say that, like, I love the Kathy
We
Dorsey's.
should go ahead and vote for this, and then we go into discussion.
Oh, I think we
No.
discussed
All right,
first.
let's discuss on.
I just want to say I love this one, but I like I love this one, but I don't like the idea that it's fireworks as much as I just like nature. Right? So I really love this one because of the light, the sun coming through. Yeah, I think this one is really cool, but I like just focusing on the nature of our township. And then as a second one, I like this one with the fog. Yeah, but anyway, this would be my first choice would be this one. That's the
Can we
one I'm-
just say what our first choice and second choices are, and maybe we'll just come to an easy resolution?
well,
My first and second choice are the same as all.
oh, so
So
let's take,
KS and Laura are 28 and then 16.
Well, remember that don't we have to have two honorable mentions?
I don't know, let's just start.
All right.
Michelle, what's your first?
My first would also be 28.
And your
Of my s-
second?
20.
Brad?
what is 20?
28 was my number one, 29 was number two.
Alicia?
On number two.
Well,
29 is cool. It is.
Alicia, it's yours.
my number one was photo 16,
Mm-hmm.
and then I like number two
Number 2.
as my second choice.
I say yours again. That's my-
Photo 16
Is
Your number one.
number one.
my
and-
number one. And then I really liked photo number two.
Yeah, it's cool. It's pretty beautiful.
You're all so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
My first one is number 16. I like that it glances into the wetlands. I like the perspective of up close and far away. I like the whole thing being framed. And my second one it could be 2 or 20. It could go either way at 2 or 20.
We'll pick one.
Oh, that looks like McKinley. I don't know if it is, but it looks like it.
Reminds me of my drive to my work.
Oh, does it?
I love
Looks like
it.
Riker.
It's one of my favorite. If I have to go to work, then that's my favorite thing is driving those dirt
I think I would
roads.
pick 2 because I don't know where 20 is. That looks more like a ATV trail to me
Beautiful.
versus one of our roads. So I'm gonna pick 2. 16 and 2, I'm gonna pick.
28 and 2. Oh, no, I'm 28 and 20.
So we have 1, 2, 3 votes for 16 in some form. We have 1, 2, 3 votes for 28 in some form. 1 vote for 20. And 1, 2 votes for 2. And 1 for 29. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So 16,
16 and 28 are.
16 and 28 are the majority of our votes.
What is 16 again?
Well, 16.
16 is looking
Oh, yeah, that
into
was
the,
my other favorite one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 28 is that?
yeah,
28.
3 and 3.
Three number, Brad, I can't remember your number one or your number two.
Was my
He was 28 and 29.
28.
Yeah.
Okay, so 28 wins for number one.
16 had 2 number ones and 2 number twos.
So. Okay, so
So
28 is a number one and 16 is a number two.
That was the motion on the table. No. Or do we even need a motion or do we just?
And then do we do one more? Do we do one more honor? Don't we do 2?
The next one would be number 2, got the
Well,
most votes.
What did we decide was the number one?
20, 28.
28 got 4 votes.
No, 28 got 3 votes.
No, I got 4.
No,
I
that-
got Michelle.
Oh, yeah, there's 2 names. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 of you.
So 20.
So it's 4 and 4 for 28 and 16 are 4 and 4.
The reason we made 28 higher is because 16 got 2 number twos and 2 number ones. And whereas 28 got 4 number ones.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little.
They're all so beautiful.
I doubt we even need a motion. I think we can just.
So the 2 honorable mentions are numbers
16.
16 and 2.
And do. Nice choices. I guess I like number 29 also. I took a picture like that.
Yeah, 2 is beautiful.
Alrighty, so we will make a motion because one of these are going to be displayed and framed, printed and framed, and displayed at the town shed. So if someone would like to make a motion to select X as the winner
Hmm.
and
I'll amend the emotion. So the emotion, here we go. Okay. 28. Move that 28 is our number one. And then our two honorable mentions are number 16 and number 2.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right.
She was amending the motion.
All right, we will do that. So I have a motion by trustee Sanders, support by trustee Sickinga. All those in favor of the photo contest winners, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none. The selection of the photo contest winners and honorable mentions is passed.
Congratulations, and thank you for just at the back. There are already submissions and so thank you to those that we submitted with beautiful photographs. That
Mm-hmm.
You were all beautiful. All right, now moving on to just discussion items with no presentations. We will start with A, dementia-friendly Dexter proclamation. So just as a quick overview, Dementia Friendly Services is a Saline-based 501c3 nonprofit working to make communities more welcome, supportive, and inclusive for people living with Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia and their caregivers. The organization provides education and awareness programs, community activities, and resources designed to reduce stigma and help individuals with dementia remain active and engaged in their communities. So, it is absolutely wonderful, and that's on page 107. And there's information that this service is, I believe it is at the senior center, but so as you all read, Supervisor Scott and Samantha Edwards both met with Dementia Friendly just this past month, and we all had a lot of talks about it in the office. It's a fantastic program. So does anyone have any questions or discussion?
Looks great.
They're just a wonderful program. Like I said, all the information is in here, and it's absolutely wonderful when organizations realize, the importance of accepting everyone to their community and giving them resources. So no more discussion or, alrighty. So we can move on to B, the strategic plan update. You have the floor, trustee Sickinga.
Okay, I'll try to make this quick, and just a shout out to Sam first, because she's been coordinating and she's been monitoring and tracking on the strategic plan. And I know there's some work involved in that. I think you're doing that. Big picture, we've accomplished a lot. There's really nothing that is behind schedule, but I wanted to just call out a couple things. Most notably, I think it's the DSNA version that is complete. And also, I believe, makes use of that document digitization process that we went through last year. So we're getting more value out of that, the investment we made in that project, and higher service levels for township residents. So, and a lot of work went into that. So shout out to Sam, but really everyone in the office, Fletcher and the executive team and the deputies and assessor and everyone who worked on that. So thank you. But we're doing lots of other things too, and I'm not going to go into them, but some of them were on the agenda today. So the photo contest, some certain components, the master plan review, the environmental committee appointments, all that, the dementia friendly resolution, all of these are things that are accomplishments that fit into the district. So thank you for that. Things that we're going to be doing that I would like to do, I would like to mark the Charter Township effort complete. I don't want to do it until Lonnie gets here, but I think we've looked into it and determined that it's not feasible for us. So I wanted to say we're done with that. I want us to consider maybe reactivating the fire ordinance one, because the interlocal agreement on fire is taking longer than we thought, and I don't see any reason really that we need to delay the fire ordinance, so I'm gonna be talking to Lonnie about that. Everybody was invited to consider whether there are any action steps they wanted to add around their, the entities that they're serving on. And the one that we do want to add is supporting multi-lakes strategic planning efforts and considering any action items for water quality that result from that strategic planning process. So if I don't hear any objections, I'm gonna go ahead and add that as a new strategic planning objective. And in future months, we'll look at that and
It'll be
then,
all outlined.
and then it'll be a nudge for you guys also, as you're going to your committees, consider whether there's anything you want to bring forward and suggest that we take up with the committees that you're serving. So is everybody okay with adding that multi-lakes action
Mhm.
step?
Absolutely.
All right, so other than that, I mean, good job, everybody. I mean, we've done so much. I mean, every single person on the board, I think, has contributed to this.
Can I make a comment? I think it's it's because I missed saying something or talking about this, but I have been going to the Western Washtenaw Regional advocacy meetings, and I think that should probably be represented in here somewhere, like maybe under good government or something, or one of the,
That was what this was, you know, this is your chance to say, hey.
I know.
To think about it, and if you have any. if you
Yeah.
Think of something you want to add in here.
well,
bring
there,
it to us and we'll add it in.
okay, well, I mean, just the fact that we're participating in it, I think that
Go in
it's kind of already there, but it's not listed specifically. It's under work to improve services provided through collaborative relationships. These are services. That's not really a service,
It's a
you know, but it's collaborating with various municipalities on this part.
Yeah, so just as I mean, you're making a great point, and just to remind everybody, we have kind of two categories of committees, and
Mhm.
I had set it up, and I think we've gotten away from this a little bit, but there's one category of service where we are through interlocal agreements or collaborations, we're actually providing services that are typical local government
Yeah.
services, like recycling, sewer service, fire department, a police department, or whatever. Then there's another category, which is which I think. you need-
Partnership.
You know, that are
Yeah.
partnerships and
Yeah.
policy-based ones, and this is one. Lonnie just created a new one for Western Washtenaw supervisors.
Okay.
And so I think you're making a point that we should have another action item that relates to the policy making. The one as written really talks about the ones that are kind of in lieu of local government departments, but we need another one that talks about the policy collaborations that we're making.
Can you help me and you, can you help me
Yeah.
craft language for that?
And I think
Okay.
it should pertain to that one, but also like Watts and SEMCOG and Western Washtenaw.
Yeah, because
Waves.
I was going to make a comment about WWRAG that, and I'll read it really quickly and when we get to reports.
So I've got to just make a mention of the other thing we want to add is an action item pursuant to policy making. Or to collab, you know,
Mhm.
something, you know, this is just a to-do,
It's the working interlocally.
yeah, pursuant to interlocal collaborative organization.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. Anything else on strategic planning?
Moving along.
Great job, guys.
Great job, you.
Michelle's dying.
Thank you.
Well,
Just stand up, Michelle.
You can
All
stand.
right. We're almost there.
Just stand up.
I
Okay.
did also want to say that, you know, Michelle provided some updates on strategic planning that got buried in the middle of the planning presentation.
Yeah.
I read that, but it was out.
Yeah.
Draw your attention to it.
Okay.
Well, fantastic. And yes, excellent job. Very excited about all the strategic plan and environmental stewardship. Yay. So now, does anyone have any questions or comments for their staff in Dexter Township Board and Committee reports? You know what? I'm just gonna go down the line.
None
Trustee
tonight.
Nolte. Trustee
Um,
Abbott.
I just want to echo that, in case you didn't read my planning report, my planning commission report, is that there was quite a few residents that spoke in public comments regarding their fear of us signing NDAs, and I think it would be good for the board to address those concerns instead of letting people just wonder about them. So I appreciated Mr. Spiegel's public comments because he was also present for the planning commission meeting.
I was gonna ask, but that was gonna be my comment, was I didn't really enjoy your report, but I didn't know that non-disclosure agreement. I didn't even know that as a public sector entity, we were permitted to do them, so I was really like, what is this? I think about it as like a Jeffrey Epstein thing or something like that. I was surprised to see.
Well, what I want to remind people, and I said this during the planning commission meeting, that NDAs are a direct conflict from our strategic plan, from one of our strategic pillars on transparency.
Transparency, right.
We need to keep reminding our residents that transparency is paramount to us and that NDAs are not. And so I don't know, I just want us to maybe have the attorney come and do a presentation.
Yeah.
Because people are watching our meetings and I want people to know that it is not our intention to do that, to sign anything like that.
I think that's a great idea, because I'm not even sure we have a legal right to do that, because everything is foilable.
Foilable.
With narrow exceptions,
Mhm.
so
It's-
I don't even know if we can.
It's coming from all the data centers where people signed NDAs and then they're hiding information from the residents.
If we can just address this issue for our residents, I think that would go a long ways to helping people. Because it was the resounding theme during public comments.
So we should make a note to put that on. the
Absolutely.
agenda for the future.
And then, I just want to say there's been a change in the lineup of coffee chats. We are going to, we have Dale Lesser is going to come and speak in September. I think it's maybe the 18th. That is our next coffee chat regarding land preservation. We'd really like to pack the room and really pull the veil back on land preservation to encourage
It's Saturday.
farmers to consider
September.
putting some of their land, because they still get to use it. They're just paid to not let anyone develop it. So we're going to have a coffee chat around that, because with everything going on with data centers and everything, it's a good idea to have people come, someone who understands it to talk, and then have a good Q&A. And then for October, we are going to have a safe election coffee chat. We kind of
Nice.
switched subjects because right before the election, I think it is very advisable, and Clerk Stambuelli's, it was her idea, and I think it's a very good idea that we do this right before the general election. So that's all I have.
And I was excited to be invited to be a guest speaker for that. Also to show people how you properly fill out your ballot. Once it goes down to the county board, if it hasn't been filled out correctly, we have no idea who you are by that time. We have no idea how to contact you, and this is your vote. So thank you for giving me that floor time. Treasurer Matt. I guess I'll just go in a row. Clerk Stambolales, thank you for all the participants, all the election workers. Trustee Sanders and I think Trustee Abbott were outside as well. So you know what? It was a great day. We didn't have any meanies, which was wonderful. And we had a pretty steady day, but the general will be busier. Trustee Sickinga.
Thank you for facilitating the meeting.
Thank you.
I have a little report on the Western Washtenaw, and then I have a comment that I wanted to make during other issues and comments, and I'll try to be quick. But the Western Washtenaw Regional Group, so this meeting highlighted the intention that this group rebrand and restructure the group to become more active and effective for all the municipalities involved, because it's been kind of weak. It's been suggested that we join a larger organization entitled the Downriver Community Conference, DCC, which includes 20 participating municipalities to increase regional power within the state. There was an agreement that we would visit the DCC and ask them to send us their bylaws and other information. So that might happen. And there will be another WERAG meeting on October 14th at 6:30 at Dexter City Hall. And all the municipalities have been asked to invite their township planners to this meeting. So I'm hoping Fletcher might join me for that meeting, and I need to talk to him about it. He's not here anymore. And I haven't talked to him yet. So that's what's going on with the Western Washtenaw. Right. And yeah. So are we on to other issues now?
Janet,
we
do you
have to-
have any comments? All right.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that, the last BOT meeting, I regret my vote, and I know I can't change my vote on something, but I want to just go on the record as saying this, okay? At the last BOT meeting, with a few changes in language, I voted for the resolution to oppose our sheriff's request to include the 911 surcharge proposal on the November midterm election ballot. I realize that I can't change my vote, but I want to go on the record to say that if I could change it, I would. I'm still learning to approach my vote with caution and conscience. I understand that the sheriff's proposal seemed fast and unclear to our BOT. After attending a meeting for contract partners with the sheriff and her team just the following Friday, I felt better informed. I concluded that as much as we as a board were feeling pushed to support it, I also felt pressured by what felt like a fast and reactive resolution introduced by our supervisor to oppose her request. After attending the Friday meeting, I understood more about what results could be predicted, how the integration of mental health would be prioritized, what advisory role fire chiefs would have, what questions remain to be answered as a new system rolls out in phases, and witnessed political backlash toward our sheriff that I believe is at play. So Sheriff Dyer's proposal to put the 911 surcharge on the ballot lost by one vote at the county commission meeting the following Wednesday. So this will not appear on our November ballot. However, restructuring the funding of 911 dispatch is clearly a need that must be resolved expeditiously in Washtenaw County, and will be coming back around for our review and support.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Did they say where the millions of dollars were being reallocated to?
There's a lot of questions that are still open, but I think that and look, I couldn't go to the county board meeting because I had another engagement, but I think that those questions are getting answered. So, and I felt like there were a lot more questions answered, and I do think there's some pretty strong backlash at her. So, and I think,
You support her.
we need to support her. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other issues, comments, concerns from board and staff? Got a little out of sequence here. I'm going to backtrack for a minute. Second call for public comment, seeing none.
No.
If we are all
Yeah.
done discussing, I am going to hereby call the Board of Trustees meeting to adjourn at 8:36.
Yay.
Wow.
You're going home? Don't tell me that. I know, sorry. Thank you.